Gabriela Bandy, and today I'll be showing you some of my beauty secrets. Okay, just kidding, this is in Vogue. But we're manifesting that in the near future. For now, we'll just play pretend. Okay, I'm in this really beautiful bathroom. Shout out to my sister. Yeah, I'm gonna do my makeup today. I'm gonna do just kind of like what I do on my everyday when I wanna get glammed, and I feel like I've mastered a good glam. Let's get started. The first thing, of course, is gonna be skin prep. We're gonna jump to this serum by Laneige. It is the Water Bank Hyaluronic Serum. I love to use this on my skin every day because it really hydrates. Next, this is a new serum I've been using. It's by Desi and it's called Pink Nectar Squalane Oil Serum Drops. Because my skin has been extra dry, these are super hydrating. You see how like that instant shine and glow? Okay, next I am gonna hydrate my under eyes. This is the Charlotte Tilbury eye cream and I'm almost done with her. And then I take the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. I'm also almost done with this. And we're just gonna moisturize everything. Basically, the goal is for your skin to be so glowy before you even start applying your makeup. I'm not going for a super heavy look these days. I like that natural kind of glow. I do want it to look like I'm wearing makeup, so we're not gonna go super natural, but you'll see what I'm talking about as far as like the skin is gonna look kind of natural. Okay, so for my face base, I use the Say Slip Tint. This honestly feels super moisturizing. So on top of already having my skin hydrated, this adds even more hydration. I don't like a crazy heavy coverage on my skin because I don't like the feeling of having makeup on, which is crazy because literally makeup videos, but I tend to want kind of like a lighter feel on my skin. I want you to take a look at the skin so you see what I'm talking about. Like, you need to be literally shining and glowing. Very important. Okay, next I like to go in with my bronzer, and there's two that I'll be using. This is the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt in shade medium. So I'm gonna start with that, and I like to pump some into my hand like this. And I take the Makeup by Mario F4 brush and I start sculpting my whole face. Everything that I do is gonna be like dragging things up. And with the other side of the brush, you kind of just get to blend that out everywhere. Okay, once we're at this step, we go in with the Say Sunmelt in Tan Bronze. This one adds a little bit more like depth to the contour. I mean, this is actually bronzer, but it has a little bit more pigment, and you can always kind of like build up your bronzer as much as you like. I don't want it to be like super harsh, but I do want it to show. I'm also gonna take a thinner brush to kind of like define the nose a little bit. It looks a little crazy when you're in this step. I'm making like almost like a button nose, but everything is gonna be blended out, so it's gonna look really natural. So now we do concealer. This is Tower 28 in the shade MDR, and I don't like to go too crazy with concealer. I used to actually use a lot of concealer, but now I try to use less because sometimes less is more, and I don't want too much creasing. So like, I do want that coverage, but I want it to be just a little bit more natural. I'm going to let the concealer kind of sit for a little bit, and while that's happening, I'm gonna do my eyebrows. This is the Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil, and I'm just gonna brush it and fluff them up. And then I take the other side. This is a very thin pencil, and I kind of just lightly go over them, not too much. Okay, remember this brush? We're gonna use it again. I know I used it for bronzer earlier, but I like this brush. It helps blend everything. And I do like to just kind of like pat everything into the skin. Also, I do like to kind of bring in that concealer here to kind of like reinforce the bronzer that we added to the nose. I know it's very, very light, but I promise it makes a difference. Okay, I go a little crazy with blush. So first, we're going to add Makeup by Mario Soft Pop in Paradise Pink. I'm gonna use Makeup by Mario F2 brush. Gonna blend that out, and first I go in with the big brush. Now this blush is a little kind of intense, so you have to lightly add it. And this is kind of like the one I add as a base everywhere. And it's just like a pretty pink. Now I like to drag my blush up and sometimes even into my brow. Kind of go little by little and build it up, because if you go crazy from the beginning, it's kind of hard to take it off afterwards. So you see how like I haven't had to struggle a lot with blending, like things are just blending in together because the skincare was there, you know what I mean? Okay, then I go in with Huda Beauty Sunset Lychee. This is the blush filter, and this is a very cute light peachy pink, and I just add 2 of these right in the apples of my cheek. Okay, now we get to set some of this stuff because obviously some areas are a little shiny and we don't want to look like that. So I'm going to take Makeup by Mario. It's a Real Skin Soft Blur Setting Powder, and I honestly just use the same F2 brush, the smaller one that I use the peachy blush with. I just take a little bit of the powder and then I get rid of the excess, and then I just kind of press it into the under eyes. That is pretty much it when it comes to setting. I can always go back to it if I need to later on, but that is kind of like what I do as far as setting powder goes. And then I also go with this YSL All Hours Hyper Bronze. This is such a beautiful bronzer, and I take this and I kind of just pat it in to all the areas where I bronzed up. And this shade is really warm, so I really like it with my skin tone. I could also use this for any areas like on my nose where maybe like I lost a little bit of that contour, you know, and if I want to define it a little bit more, sometimes I'll just go in on this little area right here and then kind of like connect that with my brow. And then I'm also going to add a little bit more of the bronzer on my eyelid, just where my eye naturally creases, intensifying that. And then I like to take Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish. I take a little bit of that with a little fluffy blending brush, and I'm gonna press that into my inner corner. So I have this beautiful stick that I got from Charlotte Tilbury. It is called the Unreal Skin Sheer Glow Tint. Sometimes I actually use this on my whole face, but lately I've been just kind of using it as a highlight because it has like such a pretty natural glow. So I add that to like all the little points where I want to add like a little glow. I do like to intensify the nose highlight a little bit. So I take Cookie by Benefit and I literally add like a tiny bit on my nose. It like sets what I just added with Charlotte Tilbury, but also just adds a little bit more shine. So now that we're at this step, I'm going back in with blush. This is One Size Cheek Clapper, and it's in the shade Attention Seeker. This thing has gone through so much. Her and I are like this, and I refuse to let her go even though we lost a sister. I really just use this shade right here. It's called Yes Sir, and I just kind of go over all the areas where I added blush, and I just will never get over how beautiful this pink shade is. Moving on, I'm gonna curl my lashes. This is the Surratt eyelash curler, and ever since I tried this, I feel like I can't really go back to a different one because this one does a great job at grabbing all of my lashes and curling them. And I do this process for like 5 minutes. I do kind of have to curl them a couple of times, at least twice on each eye. Okay, once my eyelashes are nice and curled, I go in with my mascara. This is Too Faced Better Than Sex. And honestly, we're gonna spend like 10 minutes just adding mascara because this is a very important process. I take this very seriously. Now when my lashes are finally good to how I want them, I move on to freckles, and I've been using this freckle pen. It is Marilia Scott Cosmetics, I believe, and it is the water resistant off freckles. You gotta do this very carefully. If you take your time, they will look really natural and pretty. So first I like to go and kind of like highlight all my natural beauty marks, and wherever I have like a natural one, I just kind of leave it like that. And then now when this is ready, you kind of just tap it all over. And I kind of rub these a little bit too, so that it looks natural like that. So for my lipstick, I have two favorite lip liners. One of them I completely lost. It is a Lancome lip liner, but I really like this one from Persona. Any lip liner that has this type of shade on me, I will love. It is basically not a brown, but like a brown, but it has like a little redness to it. I like to kind of accentuate my natural Cupid's bow and then connect down to my inner corner. Once I have the lip shape that I want, I go in with my lipstick. Today I'm using MAC in the shade Sellout. It's a really pretty like pinky nude, and I just apply that to the center of my lips. And just blend it kind of with your fingers. Last but not least, I'm gonna set all of this together with the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Lotus Setting Spray. This is really gonna melt everything into one. And that is how I do my signature glam. Like I love it. I feel like this just always looks so good on me. And I feel like that's what makeup is all about, is finding just what works for you. Thanks for watching. Bye.